You're listening to What's Good Sacramento, where we not only talk about real estate and home loans, but what's going on in the greater Sacramento area. What's new, what's hot, what is going on. You're here with Mac, the mortgage man, and Lisa, your local Sacramento realtor. Let's jump on into today's show. Welcome to What's Good Sacramento, here with Mac the Mortgage Man and Lisa, your local Sacramento realtor. Lisa, how you doing today?
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, everybody. I'm doing great. So let's start the morning off with talking about what's hot. What's back? School, you guys. It's back to school week. Woo! Had
Well,
to get my
before
third.
you jump into back to school week, I want to say so. One of my friends from the Central Valley, her kid is in her senior year. I don't know if your school did this, but at my school, we do a thing called Senior Sunrise.
Oh,
And everybody in the senior class goes to the football field and they watch the sunrise together. And then
aw.
and then at the end of the year they do senior sunset where they watch the sun set, right? So she
Okay.
had posted a photo of that and I was like, "Holy crap, like memory unlocked. I totally forgot about this thing that we all did." So, yeah, school's back. It's in full effect, right?
Yes, and like everybody's just about it. And I had to get Nevi all prepped for it and amped up, take her school shopping so she gets excited. But what's really cool about their schools are like two stories. So she's on
Mm.
the second story. So I feel like she feels like she's older now, I'm on the
Mm.
second floor.
Did it. Nailed it.
Yes. So aside from that, and everybody, congratulations, whatever grade you're going into, kill it this year. But some other big things that are happening this weekend, Monster Jam, August 11th through the 13th at Golden One Center. I can't say I've ever been, but I've seen the crowds line up for that. And that thing is like some serious business. Have you ever gone there?
I've never been to a Monster Jam, but I've always wanted to go. Um, I should say I've never wanted to go, but I always thought that
I
would be
don't
like a really
lie.
cool thing to go
Jealous.
to, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, one of my friends is going actually, so it should be pretty cool for him anyway.
Yeah. And then another thing that's coming up by the end of the month is Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, and
And
Too
too
Short.
short.
Hey, I'm like, okay, you know what? That's going to be a wild crowd. I am
Yeah,
not
I
trying to
know
be in
that
that
too. That's
scene.
pretty. I haven't even heard of this. August 25th,
Yes.
and that's pretty.
That
That's
is
pretty
pretty
crazy.
awesome. I was like, but you know what? I feel like, okay, I went to go visit my son up in Reading and I
Mm,
see this huge bulletin board. I think was it Too Short or somebody who has like a new alcohol? And
mm,
so they're actually doing venues like out there. And I was
mm.
so shocked. I don't know if it was Too Short or 50 Cent. I think it was 50 Cent actually. So I'm
50,
thinking maybe
50
he
cent.
50 Cent,
50
my
cent.
bad. Let me enunciate correctly. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe he might be a guest appearance on
And
that.
that's a pretty big show. I mean, obviously they're
Right.
all like older, artists, but to have all of those guys in one place is pretty crazy.
Right? So another highlights of what's hot and happening and new and popping up in the greater Sacramento area. I love to feature restaurants. I don't know, I'm a foodie. You and I were both talking about food and how we're lacking thereof
Yeah, hungry.
recently, which is really sucks
Yeah.
due to our own either self-induced or purposefully doing
Mm,
watching our diets, right? But for
yeah.
those of you who love food and like to try new restaurants, I okay, don't knock me if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but Pucha House in Midtown on Q.
Maybe Polka
Polka?
House?
You know what? I
Polka
thought,
House?
I thought Pucha Polka, whatever
Yeah,
you want to call it.
something in Midtown.
But you know what? So it's right on S Street, or no, Q in that little area.
Hmm.
There's the railroad tracks that go right neighboring to it. And it used to be, I feel like it's got rolled over on various ownerships over the years. I don't know if you know this particular building, but it's like this huge brick house.
Mm,
And before I know, many moons ago, it was like kind of like a dive bar with like DJs and stuff. So they've converted it into a Korean restaurant. So
Mm,
there's a lot of hype about it. So if you like Korean food, and what kind of struck my interest is because I feel like as we're growing as a community in Sacramento, we're being introduced to a lot more diversity when it comes to food. And I just
hmm.
love that. I love that you're like, you decide I want to go out and eat. And so I want to try
Right.
something new. Well, you've got Korean, Chinese, Japanese, American, whatever it is you like. But in particular, so I guess that the thing that I've seen on a lot of like reels about this little spot is that when the train goes by, they give
Mm.
$2 shots. So I don't know if that's
Hey
like at all hours of the
yo.
day, but supposedly like that's their thing.
Yeah.
And then they've got like these different foods, like the Cheeto cheese corn. It comes out on this like iron platter and they
Mm.
fire it up. Something fires up with
Mm.
like, I don't know, tater tots. It just looks really good. Very unique food.
Jesus.
I
Yeah.
know, right? For us
Well, when
that
so
haven't
you
eaten.
have hot Cheeto cheese corn. And so
Yes.
when I read that, I was like, "Oh, that's Mexican. That's like 100% Mexican. Like hot Cheetos on corn." And then I was like looking at the other food, and I was like, "Oh wait, that's not Mexican." I was like, "Kimchi pancakes." I'm like, I don't
Right?
know what that is. And then that's why, because then I was trying to figure out like how do you pronounce the name? Like, is this a Mexican or Hispanic
No, this is
pronunciation?
Korean and they're
Uh,
doing it. Imagine that they like fry up the kimchi and it looks like a patty and they
mm,
serve it like that. And I was like, I mean, I like kimchi. I
mm,
don't know how it tastes crunchy, but it looked pretty interesting.
mm.
And then bulgogi. Have you ever been to like those Korean barbecue where you,
Yeah, I have. It's
yeah,
been a while though. I mean, yeah, but I have. They're good,
right?
typically anyway. Yeah.
So they have the bulgogi meat and then they serve it on a platter and it just
Mm,
I don't know, everything about it looks good. The vibe looks good.
mm,
Old school R&B. I mean, how could you go wrong? Good food, good music. But another spot that popped up that I was like, okay, this is definitely on my hit list whenever I get back out there and want to explore with restaurants. It's
mm,
called Junior's Restaurant. No, Junior's Lounge
mm,
Restaurant in Roseville. So it's new. It's a modern American fusion type deal. Looks pretty fancy. I mean, the ceilings are highly vaulted and it just looks really huge. But what particularly struck my interest is that they're offering this Friday, starting at 7 p.m., belly dancing. So you buy your
mm.
tickets for dinner and you get entertainment with it. I was like, that's pretty cool. And then they'll feature a DJ like later in the evening. So I don't know if this restaurant converts into like a lounge club type deal. I have
Right.
no idea. But I just really like that, I don't know, the greater Sacramento is stepping up with its entertainment life and the for the foodies out there.
Yeah, I like that. I here's the thing about like live entertainment at a restaurant. I want it to happen. I just don't want it to happen like right near me. I want it to be kind of like in the distance a little bit. I like that. And no, it's funny you brought up the like restaurant converting into like a club, because
Yes.
there's a place, and I think it's called Garage, that's in like mid or like downtown, and it does that, or at least it used to do that back when I was partying down there. And I always thought it was the weirdest thing when like that transition would happen, and then it had like the most eclectic group of people that would show up to this place. So yeah.
That happened to us once. We
Mm.
seldomly go out, but we did go out and we were sitting there talking, chit-chatting. We must have been there forever to the point where the guy like tapped Mo on the shoulders, like, excuse us, I hate to bug you, but we're gonna clear the area now for a dance
Yeah.
floor. We're like, oh, okay.
By the way, you're part of
Time
a
to
party
go.
now. Yeah, you're part of the club now,
Yeah,
guys.
free entry.
Yeah.
No, we left after that, but we were cracking up. We're like, man, how long have we been the only two in the middle of the whole room just
Yeah.
talking? All right, so shifting gears slightly. So something else hot that's, I want to talk about in our market related to real estate. There was an article, and you and I kind of went back and forth on this, the California real estate articles that come out for us
Mm-hmm.
by the Association of Realtors.
Yeah.
So they had this one, silver lining opportunities in underserved markets, and
Mm,
that really struck me. So I read the whole article about it, and some of the fine points that I wanted to bring up was particularly about Latino communities. They said that us Latinos have the largest share of near mortgage ready population of
mm,
any race. So I'm like, opportunity knocks, in
Hmm.
particular for us, that are talking to you guys out there, right? So, data that they pulled from the NAR said that although rates have dropped in 2020, Hispanic home buyers have had several or a lot of extra obstacles to get
Hmm.
qualified for mortgage loans. And I thought, okay, we're not going to say that, the whys, the biases, but I was really curious as to what are the reasons behind that, right?
Hmm.
Because I mean, already I think that overall minority groups, I don't know if we're groomed to just think home ownership
Right.
growing up. Well, especially in older generations. I could say
Hmm.
nowadays, probably with the younger generations, we're more amped towards mindset of FICO scores,
Hmm.
proving credit, building credit, buying houses, right? But then it went on to say that Hispanic homeownership rates have reached 48.6% in
Hmm.
2022. So that's a pretty, decent percentage increase. And that for a steady 8 years, there's been growth. So I
Hmm.
think that's great, because a lot of families, and this is, I could probably say this overall for multicultural families or, when we're talking about diverse groups, ethnic backgrounds, it's very customary to live together in one
Hmm.
home. It's not unheard of. Um, and, families help each other build and grow and then kind of branch off, like,
Right.
okay, one family goes off on their own and then we're going to continue to build and then the other. And so that might be very customary. So this was something I wanted to talk to you about and see what your thoughts were. I mean, have you ever experienced this, or what do you think about this as a whole?
Well, there's a kind of a lot to digest there, right? Because the Latino community, I think that phrasing is very encompassing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to say we're distinctly talking about, let's say, right? Because in California, I would say of the Latino community, the most prevalent are the Hispanic or Mexican community, right? And so that's primarily where my experience is with. And I will say kind of a lot to what you're saying, right? They tend to stay together for a long time until they can afford to get their own home, which makes a lot of sense. And they like to be cash heavy. I don't know where that stems from exactly, but I know a lot of, and maybe it has to do with like the type of work, a lot of maybe like under the table or maybe a lot of cash businesses, things
Or
like
maybe
that.
stashing cash under the
Yeah,
mattress.
stashing cash. I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to stereotype or anything like that, but this has just been my experience. And so when you're much more cash heavy and that's kind of what you're focusing on, you tend not to learn about like the credit thing. And because for the longest time, cash was king, right? And yeah, credit mattered, but you could use cash. It was more affordable back then.
Right.
To be able to use it, and now it's kind of becoming a different thing, but it's great to see that. Now, this doesn't, this, you know, I think California is one of the few states where there's more Latinos in the state than there are any other race. And so that shift happened, I don't know, maybe in the last 10 years or something. And so this sort of growth makes a lot of sense for me in the community that we're currently in the California area. And, it's good to see because I do a lot of work on our loan side, all of the laws that have been created, the Fair Housing Act, the Equal Credit and Opportunity Act, RESPA, tillage, all these laws that really deal with helping the consumer as well as dealing with protected classes. Um, this is one of those things where a lot of it stems from underserved communities. And among many others, this is one of them. So it's good to see that growth.
Yeah, and I just was thinking that when it, spoke of obstacles, I'm thinking, well, speaking from experience, literally cash under the mattress was a real
Mm.
thing. So, speaking from experience
Uh,
from family, anyways, education on leveraging when it comes to credit. I
mm,
don't think that it's emphasized enough
Mm,
And so I feel that what we bring to the table when we're talking week over week is just kind of highlighting things to strike your curiosity or interest or want to delve a little deeper and get a better understanding as far as what do I need to know and do in order to be able to buy at a future
mhm.
date, right? So I
Yeah,
think that perhaps obstacles is could be lack of
yeah.
education on what is needed as far as qualifying.
The one thing I will say is when you're cash heavy, they they may not have great credit scores, but they're not going to have bad ones because they don't you won't take on debt because you don't use credit cards, right? Like that whole sort of like thing that happens where people become in debt and then it ruins your credit or, depending on if you pay your bills or not. Um in my experience, that sort of thing isn't happening with people who focus just primarily more on cash and that side, right?
That
So,
is an interesting point.
yeah.
True.
But again, not having bad credit and having great credit are two different things. So, but why don't we go ahead and talk about what rates are looking like today? Should we do that?
Let's do it.
All right. All right. So, rates, what are they doing today? Well, they're not doing much, right? We've kind of seen this week after week. What's happening, right? We're going as high as 7.2. We're coming down, and we can kind of see here, what that fluctuation is looking like, right? We've been going up, we've been going down, but, steadily in this sort of direction. Now, couple things that are going to be happening. The inflation report's going to be coming out soon. We have job reports. We have the Fed's meeting in September. So, a lot of stuff in the next 2 months to be paying attention to. You have to remember the Feds do have the ability to increase. We have not seen any real adjustment on what's happening here. So, and what I mean by adjustment is we haven't really seen property prices drop. Inflation still seems pretty high, and seems like the Feds are likely, if at the very least, they're not going to lower it, they're likely going to raise it. So that's something to pay attention to, which we will continue to report on week after week. And man, hopefully people are just finding a way to navigate this. And I think the critical thing that we don't often talk about when it comes to rates is what does that option really look like for you right now? And you have to understand that when you're ready to get in a home, you should. There's a lot of things happening behind the curtains right now across the country that's going to lead to more expensive properties, less ability for ownership. And when we're talking about rates, that's what scares people away the most because then it leads to this higher cost, right? But rates will drop eventually. And you want to get into, and we don't know what's going to happen with property values, right? And those might stay relatively the same or continue to go up. So, I would really recommend considering getting into this market if you're ready. And when the time comes, we can help you refinance into something that makes a little bit more sense, right? The biggest thing is to get into the market, get on the property ladder. Then we can find ways to make adjustments as the market shifts, right? So that's currently where we're at. I wouldn't recommend waiting because look at all of this right here, Lisa. See all this at the
No.
bottom moving?
Yeah.
This is a scale of what's happening with the rates, but really it's a scale of people waiting. I'm just gonna wait. No, it's fine. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. Yeah, okay. Let's see how that works out for you, right? Literally, for 2 years, I was telling people this has never happened. This is historical. I know it just sounds like a buzzword, but it is like it's a real thing. Please take advantage of
Good.
this.
I
No,
know.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait.
So
Yeah,
funny.
okay. Look how good that did you, right? And I mean, I think my situation is kind of proof that you shouldn't wait because my wife and I bought in literally in the middle of COVID, so we saw what was going on. We took our own advice and we're profiting from it now. So
Love
that's
that.
what's going on with the rates. Um, Give me 1 second and we'll switch back over. All right, Lisa. So why don't we talk a little bit about what's going on in real estate?
Yes. So, well, Mac, another community. It's this little tucked away community that I don't know, me personally, for forgot about or forget about. And that's here in Sacramento, Gold River. Yeah, we've heard about it, right? Sounds wondrous.
Right.
It's this little niche between what Fair Oaks, you've got like Carmichael, Rancho Cordova, far up, there's just it's just right there, this little niche of an area, but it's quite cute and it's a very desirable area if you're familiar with that community. And very tight knit. I used to have an old hairdresser that lived out there, and I
Mm,
remember her just raving about her little area and just how I don't know, it was almost like it was very prestigious to live there.
mm,
If you were from the Fair Oaks kind of that whole area, everybody knows about Gold River. But anyway, when we're talking real estate, so if we're looking at the average sold median price year to date last year, 736,000, kind of up there, right? Today's average sold price has slightly declined, 710,000. Not a huge decline, but 3.5%, enough to make a little mark or a nudge. And if you are looking to get into these areas, just like we've talked about other really nice areas or communities, what Rockland, Roseville, Oak Grove, we know that they kind of have a steady price range.
mm.
There's not this huge drop. I mean, you were just talking about it with interest rates, waiting. You have to seize the opportunity. And if you're okay and comfortable with the price point and you know that it's worth it, like the property is valued and it hasn't had a huge loss in equity, then you have an opportunity here or a window to get in there, buy a piece of land, make your mark, and then like Max said, maybe consider refinancing when the interest rates drop, right? So when we talk about Gold River, maybe you can enlighten us a little bit about some of the things that the area has.
Absolutely. So, Gold River is a very interesting area. It is sort of tucked away, but it's a nicer area. It's a
Mhm.
nicer area, right? So it's kind of like it leads, depending on what area, it's kind of leading into Folsom a little bit, and it kind of takes some of that Folsom wealth and pulls it down, and then it leads from, like you said, Fair Oaks, and then it kind of has Rancho Cordova, and Rancho Cordova and Gold River actually share one of the same zip codes, so. It's an interesting area. I did a lot of work over there. Schools are nice, homes are very nice, and it's a pretty place to live. And our broker and myself, whenever we need to grab coffee that we're not doing in Midtown, we go to Gold River because they have a nice little shopping center over there with the Starbucks. So, but let's talk about Gold River kind of as a whole. Located, in Sacramento County, it's about 20 minutes from Midtown. So plan for your drive, depending on the traffic coming up to 50, can be a little bit longer, but it's right around there. You can just catch sunrise and hit the freeway. It is considered kind of like a dense suburban feel of an area. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, now we get a lot of our information from Niche, which is has a lot of information and rankings on communities. So a fun fact about Gold River, it was ranked 19 out of 822 of the best place to retire in California, which makes sense because older individuals might want to live in nicer communities that are a little more quiet, and that's kind of the feel you get out there in
Well
Gold River. Yeah,
established,
well established. So,
primarily homeowners,
hmm
not a lot of renters, which
yeah,
is interesting.
exactly.
Mhm.
So that's pretty cool. Another fun fact: Gold River is ranked 54 out of 528 best suburbans to live in. So just kind of playing on that idea, right? It's one of those pocketed areas that a little more upscaled, and if you're looking for something like a little more community based, it might be a great option for you. Population sits around 7,000, 8,000, with and near, like I said, it's near Rancho Cordova, right? So it's growing at about 0.78% annually. Household income does sit around 141,000, which is not a
Whoa, just
surprise when you consider how much the properties cost to live out there. You're gonna have to make a little bit of scratch to afford it, right? Now, for the properties that are renting out there, they're renting at about $2,300 a month. which I think probably makes a lot of sense for that sort of area out there, right? So this is some, information about the Gold River area, but why don't we
Well,
talk a
think
little?
about that real
Okay.
quick.
Yeah.
$2,300 for rent, you guys.
Mm,
I always have this saying when I'm talking to buyers. I'm like, listen, if you've been a renter for X amount of years, are you going to sit here and tell me that for the life of you, wouldn't you be willing to find a way to pay your rent every month, month over month? Because truthfully, you're not in control of
mm,
if you get evicted, right? How
right.
much more so will you try to better yourself or keep up with a mortgage? $2,300 is a lot of money for rent
Mm,
that you're giving to your landlord to buy down and increase their own wealth, right? Their equity.
right.
It's just, it's
Yeah, unless I own the property, then it's a great deal, guys. It's a great deal. You're gonna love living here, right? But if I don't own it, then yeah, no, you should buy a house.
crazy.
No,
Mm.
I mean it's this is a conversation we go back and forth with because obviously there's these other costs that are associated with owning a home and everybody knows that, right? And the barrier to entry on owning a home is vast, right? It can be very difficult for a lot of people to get into it. But in the end, right, if you're paying $2,300 to a mortgage, let's just say you're at the beginning of your mortgage and let's just say like 1,500 of that is going towards your actual principal. Well,
Mhm.
that's $1,500 that you're saving a month that you would not have ever saved, is ever saved had you not gotten a mortgage, right? And that's really
True.
what this is. When we talk to people, we say it's a forced savings account for something you have to survive, right? It'd be like paying for water or paying for food and then getting that money saved for you, right? We have three necessities in life. One of them is shelter. And this is the only one of those three where when you pay for it, you get to keep some of it if you own, right?
I like that.
So
I like that. A forced savings. Force me to save.
mm, that is, I
And
mean,
it
that
is very
is really what
difficult
it
to
is.
save. I
Yeah.
mean, truthfully, people know what we're talking about. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
So I think, you kind of have to change your perspective on it a little bit. And yeah, there's other associated costs and you can find cheaper ways to do it. Or you can learn to do it yourself, which is what a lot of homeowners do. Very fun times dealing with those sort of things. But let's go ahead and jump into the community and activities out there in Gold River.
Absolutely. So some of the highlights that Gold River has to offer, the Sacramento State Aquatic Center, and we talked about how they're like neighboring other communities, but that's such a cool place. And I can say out of all the years that I've lived out here in the greater Sacramento area, I have visited there for the first time once last summer.
Mm.
Never had gone there. Have you been there?
Yeah, so I went to Sac State and it's a Sac State. There's a lot of Sac State stuff there. So, I went there once. I don't know what happened, but I got really like into bike riding one day and I
I don't know
rode.
what happened.
It's just I don't ride bikes typically, but I
Well, I
owned a
want an
bike
electric bike. Does
and I
that
was
count?
like, I'm gonna ride my bike and see how far I can go. And I got onto the bike trail, which is, goes through all of Sacramento, which is very nice. And I rode it all the way up from almost like a little past the university, like on Howe, all the
Okay.
way up to the aquatic center. And then
Wow.
I got there and then I kayaked for an hour. I was like, oh, I've never
Okay,
been here.
triathlon.
I was like, I've never been here before. I'm gonna get a kayak. So I kayaked for an hour, and then I went back and I biked home, and it took me about 6 or 7 hours to do that in a day, and I near died. I thought I was gonna die.
Okay.
So yeah, I have been there. There's the interesting story about the experience I've had, but it's a really cool place. Very affordable rentals.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff that you can do out there. And I think that if that was sort of my thing, that I would be there very frequently because I'm not that far from there either.
Yeah, and it's a really family friendly, fun daycation type deal. You can take
Hmm.
your family out there, almost like a beach type vibe,
Yeah,
but
because they have fire
right?
pits and they
Yeah,
have technically like man made beaches there. So that lead
right.
to the water. So yeah.
So I definitely promote that if you're a family seeking some end of summer fun. check it out.
Hmm.
And then we've got the American River rafting. That's just one
Hmm.
rental company, but I just always favor the river. I love water,
Yeah.
period. And I grew up in Sonoma County as a little kid. So, I mean, we had the rivers and the oceans and stuff. So I just really love everything about water.
Right.
And so I like the idea that Sacramento has this to offer. If you want to take the family out and go rafting or a group of friends, I mean, these are just fun activities that you can do like
Yeah.
in the summer, right?
Yeah.
Two other restaurants because I love food,
Hmm.
Mimosa House. And I think there's several locations though throughout Sacramento for the Mimosa House.
Yeah, I didn't know there was one in Gold River.
I didn't either
Mm.
until I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I know of one in, I think, Rockland and I think Midtown, and now we know Gold River.
Mm.
Arigato sushi. If
Mm.
you're sushi lovers, they have high rankings. Looks like a lot of fun. And the food looks pretty interesting.
Mm.
So those are just some highlights
Yeah.
of what Gold River has.
So, little interesting story about Gold River. We don't typically eat out. We very, very seldomly use like Uber Eats or anything like that. But because I've been on this diet, because I'm like a very limited on the things that I can eat right now. And I had such a busy day yesterday where I was like, dude, I think I'm gonna order something. Just like, yeah, okay, good, go for it. And Jack's is one of the few places I got sweet potato fries and turkey, right? And Jazz wanted macaroni and cheese from there. So we order it, right? And long story short, her macaroni and cheese doesn't show up. Okay. So
Oh,
we're obviously frustrated about that, and we get them to refund us. Okay. Then we look at the bill online because I guess we just didn't really look at it. $50. $50
oh man.
for fries, 6 ounces of turkey, and a small macaroni and cheese. And I was like, this is the most
OMG.
insane thing I've ever seen to get. Like, I was like, this is why. And I forget, it's one of those things where I forget that it's
Inflation.
so expensive to
Mhm.
do these things. And then I'm like, in my head, it's like the last time I was like, oh, well, this is how much it was last time. But then the next time it's so much more. And then the next time it's so much more. And I just
It's
have to slap
crazy.
myself in the face and be like, don't do that anymore because this is crazy. For
It is
like
crazy.
$15, $16 of food or something like that.
I say that all the time about groceries. I'm like, I literally bought three things in this bag and somehow it's 80, $90. What did I buy? Like, this is nuts.
Yeah, we're constantly going over that because our food bill is like $800 a month for two of us, right? Now,
Oh,
granted, we buy very clean, very organic, like stuff like that, and so it's gonna be it's pricey because of that. But I was like, Jesus, dude, I remember when you could get like, and
a whole cart.
yeah, this is a telltale that I'm getting old because every old person says this. I remember when I could get milk for a quarter, right? And you're like, shut up, milk's $3 now. What are you talking about? But like legit, like we're finally getting to that point where like Jesus, like the increase is crazy, right? But the
It is.
difference is that earnings haven't gone up as much. So you really do feel it, right? And so, guys, we're just like you. We understand it's not easy to get into a house. Food's freaking expensive. Gas is expensive. Jesus Christ.
Oh,
So, yeah, we get it. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into new projects, existing projects. And guys, we're bringing you something a little bit new this week. We're doing our all star property picks. These are properties that are currently on the market that we think that you need to see. You need to be out there. You need to be calling Lisa. Get out there. Look at these properties. Let's go ahead and share the screen, and we are going to jump into these properties. All right, Lisa is going to be knocking out our first two properties. Lisa, let's go ahead and jump on in.
so Mac, this looks like one of your picks.
Oh, so Jesus, my bad. Your picks.
Okay.
Guys, forget about
Well,
the
I
last
can.
one. That one was hers. Now you pay attention to this
All
one.
right, guys. So the reason why I wanted to pick two properties in the area of Gold River is because they're offering open houses this week. And something in particularly I want you to focus in the price. It had a recent price drop. $505,000, guys. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. over 1,500 square feet. The lot size is great, 2,900 square feet, two-story, built in 2019. And if you're looking at the pictures as he's kind of scrolling quickly through them, and this is something we can do over the weekend together if you're interested in checking out the property for the open house, you can look at the floor plan, because when you're shopping for a property, it's very different when you're looking online. A lot of people do everything online these days, but there is one thing that I'll still say that is utmost important: going to the property itself and getting a feel for what the layout is, what the floor plan looks like, the community around it, and what does it feel like in the neighborhood at different hours of the day. I mentioned this last week, right? This one features laminate floors. You could see the countertops, the stainless steel, just a lot of great little details to the property. Washer and dryer upstairs. So I think that if you're interested in the property of this size, it's very affordable, you guys. These are the types of homes we've got to jump on, especially in a community like Gold River. We talked about opportunity, 3.5% slight decline in the purchase price. Well, here's a house that's currently on the market at a slight price reduction. It's saying, screaming at us, hey, buy me, we're ready. So yeah, I think this is definitely something to check out this weekend.
All right, you ready to jump on the next one?
Yes. All right, guys. The second house I want to feature out of Gold River this week is on Carson Hill Place. $685,000. A beautiful cul-de-sac lot. Look at that. It's got trees everywhere, and you can just see from the area how pristine it looks. And it's got paths to bike routes, which is awesome. 2,100 square feet, well, a little over that. The lot size is what's very attractive to me. Over 11,000 square feet lot size. So you're definitely getting a bang for your buck. It is an older home built in 1984, but if you're looking at these pictures as we're scrolling through it, it's huge. It's got an open floor plan. A lot of clients I find, they say, Lisa, I want an open space, where I can entertain and then I can go off into the kitchen and cook, but I can have the outdoors for my family and open it up. So if you like that, I mean, you could see the open countertops, the patio area for the backyard. It's just got so much to offer. And now I could see, when I was researching Gold River, why the community has a lot to offer. So I definitely say, if you're available today, later on today, 4 to I think 8 p.m., go out there, check it out. Call me. We can go together. We can talk to the realtor. We can talk about pricing, see it in person. Especially, when you're looking at houses online, I often do this to myself. Click, 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 turn, next, next, next. Because sometimes the photography isn't that great. Sometimes it's overly highlighted and it just looks beautiful, gorgeous. And you go into the house and you're like, what the heck is this? This doesn't look anything like the photographs, right? And then you have properties like this where you can tell the pictures are a little bit darker. And I don't believe that these are the best photography pictures, but I bet you if you were to go into the house and look at it yourself, especially at the right time of day, you might get a different feeling. But yeah, if you look at that back patio itself, it's got a lot of opportunity for fixing up and making it really your own. So I just really thought these are really two good properties, different. One's new, one's older, and developed, but it's something that Gold River has to offer, you guys. And open houses are this weekend. So Mac, what do you got for us?
All right, I got two. I went a little bit different on my choice. This
You don't
property
say.
here is, I think, it could be a good opportunity, right? We got a fixer upper here. It looks like it's going to be either in foreclosure or pre foreclosure, which is something we know how to navigate. And it's at 359,000, guys. So I know a lot of people, there's no houses that are in 300s. There's not a lot, but there are some out there. But they need a little bit of TLC, right? So we're going to go through these photos. We're going to see, unless you're like super in love with whatever this peach or orange wall is, these yellow walls, you're likely to do it. But the thing I like about properties like this is, especially from the outside, people don't give them a second look because they look weird, right? It's like they can't look past what's going on there. And if they could just look past the colors of the walls, they could just look past like the exterior not being super amazing, they would see that could be a very interesting property for them, and really help them kind of get into that and leverage it later in their lives. So I think this is a good opportunity. 359,000. We have a lot size of 5,000, which is pretty large. Square footage of 1,100, which is not bad at all. 3 bedroom, 2 baths, so that nice little
Good.
family. Yeah, nice
Yes.
little
Three
family
bedroom.
setup there, right? So definitely something to check out, guys. Now let's jump on to my next property. This one, oh boy, I went the whole other direction on this one.
The
this
whole
is the
enchilada.
this is the most expensive property in this zip code, and it is in the Gold River area. So if you are looking to get into something where you want to wow people, this is the one to do it,
Let's
especially if
wow
you want to
them.
live out in that Gold River area. You can see that when you're
Is that a
looking at.
double oven?
Oh, don't worry about the double oven, Lisa. All right, this is not for you. This is for our clients. All right. She's over here
Just
worried about double
saying.
ovens. But we're over here, guys. You can tell just from these photos, there's no skimping on what's going on in this property. It's done up nicely. There's going to be a lot of options for you to really thrive in this home. We're sitting at 3,600 square feet. That's
Good size.
almost three of the last homes. Three that would fit into this house,
They
which
have
is
a whole
pretty.
tree in there.
Don't worry about that, all right? People love trees in their houses.
In their
No,
bathtubs.
yeah, this is so. I mean, this is a beautiful house. And then for
Oh,
me, I'm
cool.
a pool guy.
Nice.
So let's go back to this photo real quick. Look at this. Whoever this photographer that wanted to
I
emphasize these,
know.
they're like, this is art. Look at this.
Slime.
Yeah, limes exactly. So they got a lime tree, but they got this beautiful outdoor area. Look at this amazing pool and 12,000 square foot lot, right? Built
Cute.
in 1989. Don't want to brag, but that's when I was born. So probably good luck for you guys to pick up this property. Now, if you can't afford this property on your own,
F
maybe you're
you.
one of those Sacramento individuals that just doesn't have it. Maybe get together 12 or 13 of your friends and we can get the house together, guys. Cuz I get it, right? One
Roomies.
point yeah, 1.2 million dollars is an ask, right? But for those of you that are in this market that are looking for something that's, going to stand out, make an impact and
Did you
being a
see the views, the aerial views of the water
yeah.
outside in the community? This is exactly what we're talking about, you guys. When we talk about activities, community, this is a picture,
Yeah.
snapshot.
This
This is
is and
what you're
this is
paying
part
for.
of like Sacramento that
Yeah.
you don't like normally see in
Newer
like
development.
the picture of Sacramento, right? You have like in
Exactly.
your head, if you thought San Francisco, what does that look like? LA, Tahoe, right?
Right.
Sacramento, you kind of think of
Beautiful.
like downtown a little bit. And this is really what a lot of Sacramento is, right? We have three major rivers that run through our area and a lot of beautiful real estate like this.
Sweet.
So that's where that's
I
those are our star picks of the week, guys. Now, as we get towards the end of this show for today, we want to thank all of you for being on, and we'd like to remind you that if you not have not taken and if you have not taken advantage of the credit report analysis or the community report analysis, and you do want to be a homeowner at some point, whether that means in the next day or the next 5 years, you really should start to get a good feel for how these things work, how to get into the property, how to create a good credit score, how to navigate the entire system of the home process. And these are things that we can help you for, obviously, but um, you know, it is good to get started now, right? So reach out to myself, reach out to Lisa. We can set you up on a plan to become a homeowner. And Lisa, you have a little thing here for prayers. I'm going to let you sign off on that.
I know. I just want to say our thoughts. And for those of you that pray for the residents of Maui, I mean, it's devastating. I just like, wow, I cannot believe it. I have personally never been there, but I was on my to go list for travel. And I'm just like,
Mm,
it's never going to look the same after
yeah,
that devastating part.
devastating out there. So, well, on that happy note, guys, you guys have a great weekend and we will see you next week.
Bye, everybody.